The challenge of ready writing is that it's a timed write. You have 2 hours. You want to aim for 1,000 words in response to a quote you've not seen before, and you have no outside help. You're on your own, and everything that you know has to come out on paper to present your ideas well. Mechanics is not about perfection. It is about control, clarity, and credibility. Correct mechanics and controlled mechanics show that you have authority over your content and your writing. You cannot afford careless errors. You can't spend endless amount of time revising. You want to be sure that your mechanics serve your meaning, that it supports your ideas. Mechanics serving your meaning means that you are using interesting syntax, a variety of structures. You're using interesting punctuation correctly, just the elevated. It's going beyond just a simple sentence with a period at the end. 1,000 words is never written down anywhere. It is not something you have to have, but it is something you should aim for in order to achieve a well-developed essay. Three pillars of strong mechanics starts with control. You have well-formed sentences that contain a subject and a verb. They have a complete thought. You avoid unintentional fragments or run-ons for clarity. You want to be sure that your paragraphs are just in a logical sequence. Having control over the mechanics of your writing is really the first step in being a solid writer. The next pillar is clarity. You want to have strong punctuation. You want to be sure that you're using your commas where they go and that you end with periods at the end of that thought. You want to have precise word choice. You want to be specific and detailed. You want to use vivid verbs. You just want to be sure that you are really saying what you want to say and you're not leaving it up to the reader to assume what you mean. You also want intentional transitions, which take the previous thesis point and connects it to the next thesis point. So they all build on top of each other, layering the ideas and connecting everything in that line of reasoning. The third pillar is credibility, having strong mechanics to give believability to your words and your ideas. It starts with a consistent tone. The attitude that you have at the beginning needs to flow all the way through. You want to be consistent in the attitude that you portray through your words. You want to use academic diction. You don't want to go into the slang or cultural words. You want to use elevated diction. The last is the correct conventions. You want to get a really solid handle on comma usage and the different sentence structures so that you use periods where they go and you have the commas or the semicolons where they belong. Consistent tone and the diction and those conventions will give believability to your words and it adds that credibility. When you write, you want to be sure that you are focusing on what matters. You want to make bold, powerful statements and avoid you should, we might. You want to have clear, specific thoughts and ideas. You can use participle phrases. You can use appositives to add information and interest to your writing. You can use hyphenated modifiers that add some interest. Each of these different ideas create a rhythm to your writing, and when you incorporate them, judges are going to notice that as they're reading. It's not choppy, it's not disjointed, it flows and it's elevated, and it creates interest for them as they are reading. Another reason that strong mechanics matters is that a variation of your syntax, it really does matter. It shows maturity, it shows depth of thought. Your punctuation is going to strengthen your ideas. The colon introduces some insight. The semicolon is going to connect independent ideas. The em dash, you want to use sparingly, but it provides some clarity to an idea that you have already presented. Advanced punctuation shows controlled thinking. When you use it correctly, it's going to give that control, that clarity, and the credibility that you want to have as a writer. Paragraph structure is going to signal organization. With a 1,000-word essay, you're probably going to have 5 to 7 paragraphs. And in your body paragraphs, you want to begin with a strong topic sentence that follows the points of your thesis. So in that topic sentence, you're introducing the idea that you're going to present. You're going to offer a little bit of your insight into that point and then support it with an example. After the example, you're going to offer some analysis of it. How does that example support your topic sentence? Why is it relevant, and what do you see in it that is helping to expose the truth you saw in the prompt you chose? And then you want to end it by just kind of tying up all of the ideas that you had in that body paragraph. In that conclusion, you need to have some type of reflection that connects back to your thesis. You want to be sure that you are maintaining that line of reasoning all the way through, that you don't get sidetracked or you don't get off course, that each body paragraph is all in support and analysis of that thesis statement. You want to avoid really long paragraphs, and you also want to avoid short paragraphs that don't have any development or analysis in them. You want to be sure you have a balance, and you can do that by making sure you have your topic sentence with a little analysis, you offer an example in support, and then you explain how it supports. And then that reflection that ties back in. Each of those together is going to give you 5 to 7 sentences, which is a solid body paragraph. Under the time pressure of a 2-hour window to write your essay, a lot of times students kind of fall into some traps, just common mistakes that hurt the essay overall. When you have run-ons and fragments, because it makes speed bumps in the reading where it's not understandable and we have to go back and reread. The judges need to try one more time to understand what you're saying. Another thing is when you switch the verb tense. You want to be sure you maintain verb tense all the way through. If you start with present tense, maintain it. Be consistent in what you're saying so you're not going back and forth. Another common mistake is ambiguous pronouns, when we're not sure who or what that pronoun is referring to. You want to be sure that you always use the noun before you replace it with the pronoun. You don't want to have any ambiguity in your paper to maintain clarity and control. And also, it shows credibility because you are following the thoughts in such a way that they make sense to your reader. A quick little power edit that you could remember, start with your commas. When you're looking through, look at all of your commas. Are they in the right place? Do they make sense here? Read the last word of each of your sentences. You could also read the first words to be sure you're not being redundant in what you're saying. Read the first and the last sentence of each of your paragraphs. Are they both in support of your thesis statement? Are they both showing and analyzing the truth that you are exposing from the prompt? So the first and last sentence of each paragraph. And then go back through and look, are there any awkward sentences? Any that just really don't make sense after you've typed them? A lot of times when we're writing, we're just going by our thoughts, but when we go back to read, it's like, that thought was off just a little bit. Your tone and your diction in ready writing matters. Your tone needs to be bold and powerful. It's an expository essay. You are exposing a truth that you see in that prompt. Don't make any type of ambiguous statements. We should, we might, it's possible, they could, they might. Avoid that in favor of bold choices. You want to avoid personal pronouns. Use the indefinite pronouns instead. Everyone, someone, many, both, few. We don't want to use the personal pronouns talking about ourselves unless you have a very intentional, relevant piece of a personal example of yours. Otherwise, just focus on the indefinite pronouns because what you're writing about affects everyone. The next thing is to maintain an analytical voice. You want to be sure that you are explaining the insight into the thesis point that you are discussing. The in order to, why are you using that example to support your point? Where is the emphasis and what does it mean? Just remember that mechanics are not decoration. They are very important. They offer the credibility. They will set you apart from a good essay to a great essay. Judges notice. Judges can feel it as they're reading. It really does make the cream rise to the top with your essay. It will set it apart. In a contest setting, judges are going to read dozens of essays. Even if you're at state, there are 12 essays that will be read by the judges. Your ideas will get you noticed. Your mechanics will keep you competitive. So just remember, you want to write with control, clarity, and credibility. That is mechanics with purpose. Not used to doing it without paper in my hand. Okay, here we go.
This is good.
Are my hands okay?
Yeah, no, you're doing good.
I'm not good at sitting still.